Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Brita Wallace, family and parent educator with Wallace Family Ministry, and just offering some content to you. We are on a Love Dare challenge, and we are just going deep into this study together. So we're just doing the challenge together, we're doing this study together, and I want to just encourage you guys to do this study. This is amazing. If you have not gotten the books yet, get the books either on audio. You can get them from Lifeway, Amazon, Audible, or just regular Amazon if you want both the books. I think it's so powerful if you do it together, if you listen and you have the books too, because we get to take our notes here. But if you don't have the books yet, I want you to just follow along, and then get a notebook and take notes, write down key points that we're going to learn from the Love Dare, and we are going to just dive right in. So today's lesson and dare is all about kindness. So love is kind is day 2. So we always start with a verse, and our verse is, "Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other, just as God in Christ also has forgiven you." Ephesians 4:32. So kindness is love in action. This is the biggest point that I want you to get throughout today's study, is this whole entire paragraph that I'm going to say. And I do have it written down up here as well, because it's so powerful. Okay, when I first heard this for the first time, I was like, whoa, it blew me away. So kindness is love in action. If patience is how love reacts in order to minimize a negative circumstance, kindness is how love acts to maximize a positive circumstance. Patience avoids a problem, and kindness creates a blessing. So one is preventative and the other is proactive. These two sides of love are the cornerstones on which many of the other attributes we will discuss are built. Love makes us kind, right? And kindness makes us likable. That's another thing that I have written down. Love makes you kind, kindness makes you likable. So when we're kind, when we're practicing love, we're making sure that we are being kind to others. And then when we're kind to others, it makes us likable. And sometimes we can be likable in certain moments, and sometimes we're like, nope, not so much. Like, there's sometimes where I'm like, man, I don't even like myself at the moment because I'm just in a foul mood. And those are like the worst days for me, because I hate that. And it's a mindset thing that we really have to work on, to not allowing ourselves to get there no matter what the circumstances, which is very, very difficult. Have not conquered that totally yet, but I'm working on it. Let you know how it goes. So when you're kind to people, people want to be around you. Who wants to be around somebody that's grouchy all the time, or complaining all the time, or just never has a good thing to say, or is foul in the way that they talk? Nobody wants to be around somebody like that. It's not sustainable. It brings us down. It causes anxiety. It does a whole bunch of things to us as people, and we just kind of withdraw from that, right? So the Bible keys in on the importance of kindness. Do not let kindness and truth leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, so you will find favor and good repute in the sight of God and man. Proverbs 3:3 and 4. But kindness can feel a little generic when you try defining it, much less living it. So let's break kindness down into 4 basic ingredients. So I wrote these down, the 4 components of kindness. So these are the ingredients of kindness. Initiative, it thinks ahead and then takes the first step. So meaning our loved ones shouldn't have to ask for something. Like it says here, no request required. it says it doesn't sit there waiting to be prompt or coerced before getting off the couch. The kind husband or wife will be the one who greets first, smiles first, serves first, and forgives first. And they don't require that we are perfect and have it all together first. We do it anyway, and we show love no matter what our spouse is going through. So maybe they're in a bad move, we make the first move, we be the bigger person, we choose that. And just imagine if both spouses were choosing to do that on a regular basis, how good your relationship would be. Because you wouldn't have people doing things to get even at one another, or having that mentality or those feelings towards one another. You can feel the tension in homes, you can feel it in places or between people, and some people are better at it and more sensitive to that than others. I am very sensitive to that, so I can feel that tension, energy, and it's not fun to be around at all. So kindness, jumping back into our study, is also gentleness. So when you are displaying kindness, you're careful with how we treat each other. We're careful with our words. We're careful with how we say our words. We're not callous or harsh. We're sensitive and tender, okay? And even when we do have to say hard things, we will bend over backwards to make our rebuke or challenge as easy to hear as possible. Do you do that in your marriage? Because sometimes when I have had to say hard things, it doesn't come out that way. And why? We have to ask ourselves that question, because it's personal. Why doesn't it come out that way? There's something unresolved there that's going on beneath the surface that you do need to resolve. Otherwise, that's going to create a deep, deep, deep root that once you deal with it later, sometimes the longer we let things go, the harder they get. So asking ourselves why, my answer is going to be different than yours, right? Because it's not a one size fits all. This is a unique practice, and we're in unique relationships. So it says that we will speak the truth to our spouses in love, right? So kindness is also helpfulness. That's an ingredient of kindness, is that we meet the needs of our spouse at that moment. So whatever they're going through, again, no matter what, if you're mad at them or what, you're meeting their needs. You're saying, hey, how can I help you? If you don't know what's going on, how are you feeling? We're asking questions to be able to meet their needs. And sometimes they're not just going to tell you, especially a husband or a man or somebody who's more closed off and quiet. They're not just going to come to you and say, hey, I'm going through this. We have to recognize that they're going through something, and being intentional to recognize that. We know our spouses, we know them better than anybody else probably. So we know when something's going on with them, we need to ask the questions to get them to tell us so we can help them, right? Because we don't always know what their needs are in the moment. Maybe we don't know what's wrong, but we know something is wrong. So how are we supposed to know how to help them? What can I do for you in this moment? It's a question that we should be asking. Or, what can I do for you in this situation? How can I serve you best? Being able to just meet those needs, even if we have to ask. And that is a hard ask for some people, but it shouldn't be. It should be something that comes natural to us instead of foreign. So, if it's housework, then we do the housework. If it's just us listening to them, then we listen. Sometimes as humans and strong personalities tend to solve problems. I like to solve problems. So sometimes we have to sit back and say, we're not going to solve the problem. And sometimes we even have to ask, do you want me to help? Or do you want me to listen? Do you want my input on this, or do you want me to listen? Because not everybody, especially women, sometimes they just want to be listened to, and really heard, and children as well. I'm sure guys feel the same exact way. But you know, when they're actually opening up, because it tends to be harder for them, I think that asking is a really, really good thing. So kindness graces a wife with the ability to serve her husband without worrying about her rights. Kindness makes a husband curious to discover what his wife needs, then motivates him to be the one who steps up and ensures those needs are met, even if his are put on hold, and vice versa. So we also must be willing. It is the last ingredient in kindness. So kindness inspires you to be agreeable instead of being obstinate, reluctant, or stubborn. Instead, we cooperate. We're flexible. Rather than complaining or making excuses, we look for creative ways to accommodate and adjust. A kind husband ends thousands of potential arguments by his willingness to listen first rather than demand his way. Jesus described the kindness of love in his parable to the Good Samaritan found in the Bible, Luke chapter 10. A Jewish man is attacked by robbers and then left for dead on a remote road. Two religious leaders respected among their people walk by without choosing to stop. Too busy, too important, too fond of clean hands. But a common man of another race, the hated Samaritans, whose dislike for the Jews were both bitter and mutual, sees the stranger in need and is moved with compassion. Crossing all cultural boundaries and risking ridicule, he stops and helps the man. Bandaging his wounds and putting him on his own donkey, he carries him to safety and pays all of his medical expenses out of his own pocket. Where years of racism has caused strife and division, one act of kindness brought two enemies together. Taking the initiative, this man demonstrated true kindness in every way. Gentle, helpfully, willingly, right? Initiative. He took the initiative. Jesus illustrated how love could cause even enemies to reach out to one another in kindness. If enemies can do it, how about intimates? How might love ramp up the level of kindness in your relationship, in your marriage? So this goes on to say that, you know, wasn't kindness one of the first things that we really liked about our spouse in the beginning anyway? You know, so I'm going to ask you these questions. So wasn't kindness one of the key things that drew you and your spouse together in the first place? When you married, weren't you expecting to enjoy his or her kindness for the rest of your life? Didn't your mate feel the same way about you? Even though the years can take the edge off that desire, your enjoyment in marriage is still linked to the daily level of kindness expressed. It fuels mutual delight. The Bible describes a woman whose husband and children bless and praise her. Among her noble attributes are these: she opens her mouth in wisdom. Among her and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Proverbs 31:26. So how about you? How would your husband or wife describe you on the kindness meter? What do you think the answer to that question is? I'm going to ask Chris, actually. I'll let you know. I will. I'll let you know the answer, even though I'm not sure I want to. How harsh are you? How gentle and helpful? Do you wait to be asked, or do you take the initiative to help? Don't wait for your spouse to be kind first. Make it your daily mission instead. So it is really difficult to find love, or to, you know, display love when we're not motivated to, right? So, but love in its true sense is not based on feelings. Rather, love determines to show thoughtful actions even where there seems to be no reward. You will never learn to love until you learn to demonstrate kindness first. Ouch! That can be a hard statement to swallow, because some of us, that doesn't come easy, and I'm just being real and honest because that's the absolute truth. For some of us, kindness doesn't come easy. Sometimes we do tend to be more harsh. I can tell you that in my marriage in the beginning, I used to be a lot harsher than I am now, and I try to get kinder and more aware of what my language is, whether I'm speaking or my body language or my tone, and not make excuses for those things, because they used to be things I would make excuses for. Oh, everybody in my family has this tone issue. If you are in a room with a whole bunch of Einsteins, we all talk like this. But when we're talking to our loved ones, and yes, there's a time and a place for that tone, but it shouldn't be always, and it shouldn't be something that we use as an excuse to treat our loved ones in a certain manner. And I have made that mistake in the past, and I just think that it's great that we can learn from mistakes, that I can share them with you, because a lot of you have a similar story, I'm sure, where the way that you just talk to each other is really just not kind, right? It's not kind, it's not loving, it's not gentle. It's, the way we are loving is not helpful, it's not willing. It's like, you can do it yourself. Or, if an ask does take place, or it's saying things that are just rude and cruel and that we don't need to say to our loved ones. Because what happens is even if we don't notice it that well, something that I found in my life is that when somebody's being mean to me, or just not kind, or uncruel or cruel with their words or their demeanor, or how their vibe is towards me, their energy towards me, then I will just start to retreat. And it's so subtle, right? It's just, I retreat a little, and I retreat a little, and I retreat a little, and I retreat a little, until I'm like, woo. And then there's this issue here, right? Now there's this thing, this whole big wall that's like, nope, I'm too busy. Nope, I just don't even want to deal with it. And we have to be really careful that we're not doing that. We have to be intentional that we're not doing that. And if we're practicing kindness towards our spouse, if we're the one that is making the decision to really learn how to be kind, even if that's difficult for us to admit, but that's the first step, right, is admitting it. And even if it's difficult for us to do kind things, to practice kindness with the ingredients, by taking initiative, by being gentle, by being helpful, by being willing, then we're going to get a response back from that. Maybe not right away. We have to stick with things, especially because I don't know what your relationship is like at home. I don't know, if there's bitterness, if there's anger, if there's things that haven't been dealt with, and your partner is not going to perhaps be so open and willing at first to be like, what's this all about? Because this isn't how our relationship has been, and this isn't how you've been. So a defense mechanism goes up, and it's like, what do you want from me, right? So we don't want to say that it's going to be responsive right away, because sometimes in more difficult situations, more challenging situations, it's going to be different. It's going to be harder. It's going to be more work. But if you put in the work, then it's going to be fruitful. It will. So I just want to encourage you to admit it, practice kindness, and stick with it. Don't give up. Just continue to be kind, and start being kind to your spouse, and see the fruit from that. Because sometimes we have to plant a seed, and we have to keep planting the seeds, and then they have to grow, and they grow slowly. And we have to realize that if we haven't planted those seeds before, or it's been a long time since we planted them, that we have to plant new seeds now, and they have to grow. So just stick with it. The fruit will grow. It will grow. So today's dare is, in addition to saying nothing negative to your spouse again today, okay, we don't want to use any negativity. So we want to those are limiting beliefs. When they pop into our head, we want to reframe them with a positive belief, okay? So whatever it is, just figure out how you can reframe it, even if you have to write that down. So you also, today, we're going to continue nothing negative, and we are going to do at least one unexpected gesture as an act of kindness for our spouses. So that is it for us today. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys. Again, go ahead and get your copies of these Love Dare books. You definitely want to journal what you are learning. The reason why I really want you guys to make sure that you have these books is to support these amazing authors. Number one, I'm sure their ministry just grows, and their ministry is amazing. So you want to do it for that reason, of course. And then secondly, you get to record there's questions here, and then you get to record the answers, and you get to see how much you've grown when you look back. And that's why I love things like this. It's like, wow, this is what I did, and this is how they responded, and I could see the fruit. I could look back and see the fruit even during those tough times that we go through a marriage, because that happens to us all. It's an ebb and a flow. It's kind of, you know, like sometimes we hit rocky patches and then we figure out how to get back out of them. And that's how we grow. Those are good things. So I love you guys. I thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you tomorrow. I can't wait. Get your books, order them now, get them on audio, and hopefully next time I will remember my little remote. I keep leaving it in the other house. So I will see you guys later. Love you and God bless.